Hello, welcome back to the Women's Rugby Show weekly podcast with me, Sam. By the way, back again for episode 20, and once again, brought to you by our partners, Moonrise Sports. Been a massive time in the women's rugby world since we last spoke to you. Obviously, England were out in Bordeaux at the weekend, concluding another Grand Slam and a sixth consecutive Six Nations title as well. We'll be looking through the final round of the Six Nations and also talking through our team of the tournament we put out on social media earlier in the week and also giving you a few honourable mentions that nearly made that team as well. We're looking at the Allianz Cup and talking to Saracens Emma Taylor after their victory in the tournament over the weekend over Bristol. We'll have another segment of Moonrise 5 where this week we'll be joined by Bristol Bears and Wales back, Jenny Hesketh. We're looking at all things England under 20s as they head into the game against Wales under 20s this weekend at Shaftesbury Park in Bristol. And also, we'll be bringing you the news as well. Before you get into this episode, make sure you check us out across all social medias and also check out our partners, Moonrise Sports. Like I just mentioned, it was another historic weekend for the Red Roses. A massive win out in Bordeaux where we were to see them clinch a third consecutive Grand Slam. It was a great weekend over there, despite a bit of rain on the Saturday in the Stade Chalban del Mas. It was a great day. The French crowd were immense. It's one of the best days we've had on the Women's Rugby Show covering the game. It was really special to be out there and just to see the emotion the French crowd brings to it. But the Red Roses were very impressive out there. They did exactly what they needed to do. Their pack was destructive, kind of switching their game plan back to a forwards dominated game. The tries all coming from the forwards, apart from that Meg Jones intercept. And they just had too much for France. So I think it was really impressive performance from the Roses, and they've been pretty impressive across all the whole tournament. I think there's been criticism of them early in the tournament saying, "Oh, but they're not doing the best." But I think these last two games have shown just how good they are and how special this team is. And moving on to the other games in the tournament, obviously, third place for Ireland, heading to WXV1 after that victory over Scotland. A huge achievement for them after finishing bottom last year. They really deserve it too. That side deserves it. Like to Clean Maloney coming back in and achieving this third place finish is really special for that side and really excited to see how they can grow in WXV1. Obviously, they've got a home fixture against the Wallaroos, which has just been announced today. And that's going to be really special to see them heading forward into that game and also WXV1 and to see how they compete there. We don't know if that's going to be good for them. Obviously, we've seen Wales finish third last year, now finish bottom this year, and after on the back of WXV1. So is it a bit too early for them? Maybe, but it's such a great challenge. So it's going to be really intriguing to see what happens heading into WXV. And like we just mentioned, Wales finishing bottom and getting that wooden spoon, but a massive, massive win for them over Italy at the Principality on Saturday. A massive occasion for them as well to have a record crowd there. We can't call it a standalone record because there were other games, but still a record crowd for a Wales Six Nations game. And just to see the emotions of the players and also Yoan Cunningham after the game shows how integrated that group are. Obviously, it's not been the results that they wanted this tournament, but they've come away with a win at the end, a special win. And you just have to see that team spirit and also that they have the backing of their coach there as well. And obviously, like we mentioned also in the introduction, we put our team of the tournament out on our social media at the start of the weekend. It's so hard to pick because you could be picking players in every position that are deservedly to be in there. But just to run through our side before we give you some honourable mentions. Front row, Hannah Bottoman, Neve Jones, Maud Muir. So hard not to argue against putting those two Red Roses props in there because they've both been immense. Second row, Zoe Allcroft and Mani Falou of France. The back row of Aoife Wafer and Alex Callender in the flankers, and also Alex Matthews at number 8. Into the backs, Pauline Board on Sansus at 9, Helen Nelson at 10. The wingers are Ellis Dinker and Abby Dow, with Tatiana Hurd, Megan Jones, and Ellie Kildorn in the centres and at fullback as well. And it was so hard to pick this team because you could have argued for so many positions. And there are a number of Red Roses that were unlucky to miss out. Holly Aitchison at 10 has been immense. Mo Hunt at 9 has been really impressive as well. And it's just so hard to pick, obviously, in that pack. And then if you look at the other nations, Evie Gallagher had so many arguments to have her in there. Sam Monaghan from Ireland as well in the second row. Madusu Fal, Corinne Grant from Scotland in the backs. It's just so hard to pick just because you see this talent coming through now. And it's really nice to see that it is hard to pick because you could argue it could be full of red roses, but there's been so many other performances that have been special in this tournament. And it's great to see that these players are putting their hand up and going, I'm standing out, I'm being a star, and it's really great to see. I think, and a couple of others, Vittoria Federici from Italy could have gotten that hooker position. Connie Powell could have gotten that hooker position after her performance off the bench. Situ Pilotu in the front row as well. It's just so many impressive performances across the Six Nations that we've really enjoyed watching, and that's kind of what's reflected in our team of the week. It's a players we've enjoyed watching, and we've enjoyed seeing grow in this tournament as well. Moving on to the Allianz Cup down, obviously it was a win for Saracens after winning the final 31-17 over Bristol in at Shattery Park. Obviously, the Bears coming second. Just to run through the rest of the standings, we've had the playoffs. Gloucester Hartpury finishing third after a win over Exeter Chiefs down at Sandy Park. Look for Lightning coming fifth after a two-legged playoff win over Sale Sharks. And the final three places were decided in a little round robin tournament, with the Trail Finders coming seventh, Harlequins coming eighth, and Leicester Tigers coming ninth. And now, enough of me rambling on. You've heard enough of that in the opening couple of minutes of this podcast. Now, time for us to talk to Saracens and Canada and Canada second row, Emma Taylor. So, Emma, just first of all, like I said, thank you so much for chatting to us today. Just how's the kind of recovery been since Sunday?
No joke, I am still sore. I woke up on Monday. I rolled over and I felt like I was hit by a train. But I do feel a lot better now. Yeah, we have training tonight, so we had Tuesday off, thank goodness. But yeah, back to training tonight. I'll see how I feel once I'm actually running around. But yeah.
And just how are the emotions of the game Saturday? Obviously, winning the Allianz Cup at Saracens for the first time after Exeter have won it back to back. Just how are the emotions? Obviously, a massive comeback in the second half as well.
Yeah, I think like, you know, even going in at half, like being down, I don't really think there was a lot of doubt. I think obviously there were things to fix going into the second half, but for the most part, everyone was like stayed really positive. It was really calm, like no one panicked. Um, so yeah, I just kind of feel like the end of the game, it was just kind of building throughout the game. And um, when May scored that final try, I felt like it was kind of the kind of game decider, and we all just kind of settled for the last 5 minutes. So it was just really enjoyable. Up until then, it was like pretty high stress. It was tied like 12-12 for a while. So yeah, it was really exciting.
Just how special are these occasions and these wins of kind of getting that trophy on the board? Obviously, Saracens have had these PWR victories not for a couple of years, but just how special is this?
Yeah, it's incredible. Really good for the club. And yeah, like you said, like I think special is definitely, the right word for it. A few games before, the Six Nations break, we had, those the dual and the Ealing game, and then we had a week off, and then we had Leicester Bristol. Um, and I think, with those last four games, we almost felt like kind of out of step with how like we're used to playing as well. Um, Leicester, I think it came down to like the last like 15 minutes of the game. And then obviously when we went to Bristol, we lost in a very tough, like upsetting loss for us. So yeah, going into the cup, it's like kind of a combination of like people getting a chance to put their hand up who haven't gotten a load of time, but also just a chance for like refinement. And it just was almost funny that it worked out to be just like a little bit of a rematch for us against Bristol after, like I said, just losing to them away in the exact same park. Yeah, so it was nice to go back there, and obviously a really big occasion. Our series fans were there. They follow us everywhere because they're the best. So yeah, it was just felt like kind of extra special, and yeah, nice to see like some girls put in a heck of a shift who've been like working really hard all season. So
You mentioned those players putting their hand up. Just how important is this kind of cup being for those younger players to kind of grow and develop with? Obviously, there's a lot of senior players like yourself in that side. Sorry for calling you a senior player, but
yeah.
obviously there's so many. Well, you've got so many international caps in that side, but so many younger players as well. Just how important do you think it's been for them?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, like I say it all the time. I've played a lot of clubs, and it's those really good club players and like the younger players, not just like you have we had like Tori Sellers, Amelia McDougall, the England like up and coming Red Roses, but you also have like Kara Wardle and some of the other younger, like even Bryony Field, who is only like early 20s, like some younger girls who have like, they're not like the U20 kind of England girls, but like people have been really good club people and have just been like grinding it out all season. So I think it's like it builds depth. So when people are away on international duty or out for injury or whatever, we're just like confident that other people have, gotten the game time and they can step up. And then, yeah, for like I said, like Tori Sellers, Mina McDougall, for them to be like playing with series senior women, also be getting like time with the England U20s, like it just goes to show like how bright the future is. So really pumped to like see them over the next couple of years. And
Have you felt yourself kind of being one of the leaders within that kind of Saracens Cup side?
um yeah, I think so. Maybe like, so the first few games of the cup, like back in the fall, are my first few games with series this season. So obviously I was trying to get into step and kind of find my own form. But yeah, probably the last two games for sure. Especially, in finals, a lot um a lot of the time, like going into bigger games, semifinals, finals, like it comes down to experience and just like who can keep a cool head and who can, make decisions under pressure. And I definitely, that comes with kind of being a senior player and playing rugby for a long time. So yeah, I think like a lot of people are looking at me and, Bryony Cleo and Shaz and May, Sarah McKenna, like people like that to actually be like, okay, what do we do here? How do we move forward? So yeah, it was nice to kind of have that role for the cup for sure.
One of the players you didn't mention there, but obviously one of the older heads in the squad, Sonia Green, obviously packing
Oh
down
yeah.
next to you. Just how kind of special is it packing down next to a legend of not just the Saracens side, but also the club game in England?
Yeah, I mean, she's also one of like the kindest, most incredible people that I've ever met. So yeah, definitely an honor to get to second row with her. I laugh because when she played and she obviously had incredible final as well. But her semifinal game against Exeter at StoneX was like the best game I've seen her play. So I was like, maybe she still got it. And so I keep telling her I was trying to start the one more year chant after the Bristol game, but she was like, no. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. And like I said, she's still in like great form. She is like epitomizes, Saracens women's rugby. And like you said, yeah, not just like a Saracens legend, but she is like a legend in all areas of rugby. And it's crazy because I know we'll still see her all the time. Like she will still be involved with rugby, which is definitely reassuring because she's awesome to have around. So
And just to touch on her a little bit more, obviously the celebrations post match with the masks, the little hair things, just whose idea was that and kind of how special are those celebrations in those moments?
that was definitely a Lottie Clap um, arrangement. And I actually think that was like one of the most fun post game, like every team I've ever played on. So she actually wasn't in the change room when we first put them all on. And we had someone, I think it was like maybe Harry or Mel, someone went out to get her. And they're like, oh, we'll have to tell her that like we pretended she had to do like a media interview in the change room. Anyway, so we all put the masks on, all had like the wigs on with the short different color of Sonic's hair. Um, yeah, and when she walked in, she was like, "Oh my god!" Like, because they look so realistic as well. Like every time I looked around in all the videos, I'm like, it actually is kind of hard to tell which one is Sonic. But it was really cool. And our jersey presentation the night before was like 80s themed to, give another little tribute to Sonic. So we did celebrate her the entire weekend, which is much deserved. But yeah, she loved it. And I actually thought it was hilarious. So I'd do it all over again.
It looked like some of the players still had those kind of wigs on if you would continue the party in the night as well.
Yeah, actually, who rocked it was one of our SNCs, Nate Smith. he wore one of the purple ones the entire night, and like I actually, when he took it off, I was like, I think I prefer you with purple hair. Like it suited him so well. So I think we might see some new hairstyles this week at training. I'm not sure.
Yeah, obviously, kind of what you just touched on there is kind of all about the Saracens family and the culture there. Just how special of a club is it? Obviously, you've returned to Saracens in this year. Just is that kind of one of the reasonings you came back? Is that kind of that special environment?
Yeah, it's like it's a nice balance, right? Because I feel like any international, anyone who's like competing to be, at their best and be one of the best is like you need to be in a strong environment. So I think with Saracens, like obviously it's very competitive, um, but at the same time, like yeah, there's definitely like a family feel to it. Like I love the girls so much, and like everyone from the cup side to your internationals that return for the prem games, like everybody kind of looks out for one another. And like I said, like even I think that's one of the reasons why we made sure that like Sonic's like celebrations were for Sonic after the cup final. And yeah, everyone just like buys in because they know how much it means to her. And yeah, it's definitely that family feel, which I love, and definitely one of the reasons that it like drew me to the club or back to the club, I'll say, because yeah, been here before.
And obviously, you mentioned some of those internationals there, and they've been having a great time away in the Six Nations. Just how nice it to see players like Marley in the England side, Georgia Evans and Wales having strong Six Nations campaigns and playing really well as well.
Yeah, it's great. It's always nice to see people in good form, um, and kind of makes you excited, like to see how they bring it back to Saracens when they come back. Um, Even like Sid Gregson, she got in with the England squad, and I'm sure like going in, probably thought she'd be on the fringes and didn't know how much she'd play. And I think she ended up playing like 4 out of the 5 games for them. So she had a really great campaign. And then on the flip side, there's going to be girls that come back that didn't have as much time or are going to be like a little more disappointed, but that also probably like gives them a little bit of fire in their belly to come back and like perform at the club level. So yeah, it would just be nice to have everyone back and yeah, see everybody back in the series shirt.
And just finally, obviously, I think there's 3 or 4 more rounds of PBR fixtures heading forward. Just how important is kind of the momentum of the cup win, like you said, the fire of the players coming through back from international duty going to be heading into these final stages?
Like definitely huge. Even like we had Tuesday off, and I was actually thinking about it. Like it's probably our last training session off until after finals. We have like a really long stint coming up, and Sale has gotten progressively better throughout the season. And they've had like players return that were out from injury, so that's like our first game back, and then we go right to like a Exeter, Gloucester back to back weekends. So those are obviously going to be tough games. Exeter away is always a very big game for Saracens. So we're definitely looking forward to that, but we know how much of a challenge it's going to be. So yeah, momentum's going to be huge. And then, right before playoffs, we have Loughborough as well. And, they're one of the most athletic um, sides like in the league, and they have Scarrett returning. So they're definitely not going to be a team to take lightly. So we have 4 very tough games leading into semifinals. So we're hoping to obviously get through semifinals with a home semifinal in the bag for us. So that would be great. But yeah, momentum is going to be huge. And like I said, the next couple of weeks are going to be big just to get everyone settled back in and just make sure that we're ready to go. And we have kind of 6 tough weeks ahead, but looking forward to it for sure.
Perfect. So, Emma, thank you so much for chatting to us today and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Now, time for our Moonrise 5 segment, where this week we'll be joined by Bristol Bears and newly capped Wales winger and fullback Jenny Hesketh. So, Jenny, just first of all, thanks so much for chatting to us today. Just obviously you're one of the Moonrise athletes. So kind of just talk through a little bit about why you are on that platform.
Yeah, so I joined Moonrise platform. They reached out through social media, which obviously the way most people connect with people at the moment. And yeah, kind of said we want to promote you as an athlete that can speak to fans and give people the opportunity to like learn from people that are playing at the highest level of the game. So yeah, I'm kind of on the platform to um be a role model, I guess, in a way for other people that want to learn and get better in the sport, um, and give them the opportunity to basically get like a first-hand chat with someone that's competing week in, week out, in the Premiership.
And obviously, just moved on to the kind of Moonrise Five, as we're calling this segment. So, kind of five random questions from a list we've got. So, first one being is, what is your pre-match routine?
Um, well, we usually try and get up um, with enough time to kind of just set everything out ready in the morning. Um, get changed, get into my kit and ready to go, and then probably lounge around a little bit, try and relax before the game. Have something to eat, whatever I can on game day. It's obviously a struggle sometimes, with like late kickoffs and things like that. So it depends on the day, but yeah, kind of do that, and then usually head to a game with friends or car share with people, and kind of get like some music on, get us into the mood of ready to play the game. And then in the change rooms, I mean, at Bears, we have quite a routine of having team meetings and then coming together, individual prep, seeing the physios, doing what you need to do. And then before a game, kind of just sit in for 5 minutes and then heading out onto the pitch and really getting focused in that sense. So there's not like a strict routine, but it kind of varies on the club that I'm with. Um, and kind of the structure that we all follow as a squad on game day.
And next question, I think this might be quite a obvious answer considering the recent few weeks for you, but what's the most memorable game of your career to date and why?
Um, yeah, well, probably. I mean, probably the game at Ashton Gate. I think that was the game. Obviously, my second cap for Wales, playing in front of almost 20,000 people. That was a really cool day, and I think it was kind of different to my first cap. Although I didn't have as many family there because all my family were in Wales, but it was kind of a day where I could settle a bit more and feel a bit more comfortable in the environment to just be like, okay, let's play some good rugby, because obviously the occasion of a first cap is huge. So on the second cap, I kind of took a minute to take it in a bit more, and like a moment when I was on the pitch, I like looked around and was like, gosh, this is so loud in this stadium, and it was kind of like a little realization during match, and I was like, okay, take that in, but let's stay focused. So I think, yeah, probably that game at Ashton Gate last weekend was really, really cool. Another one is actually the game two season 3 seasons ago with Bristol Bears, the first game of the season, or one of them, against Gloucester, when we had Dave Ward as our coach in like the first few games of the season, and we were playing at Chassis Park and we beat Gloucester, and the celebrations of everyone running on because we were like, okay, this is cool, this is an exciting start, was another big game that I think really, like, I remember a lot and remember having that feeling of like, wow, this is cool and this is a cool thing to be a part of. So yeah, probably that as well.
And next one is, what is the first thing you do after a game?
Um, I mean, I'm quite lucky in that I usually have friends and family at most games. And so most time I will celebrate with the team or chat with the team and then head straight over to like my mum or my friends and just take it all in from their perspective, because I think that's a nice thing to be like, okay, all these people have come to support me, so let's go and show them some love and spend some time with them. So probably that. Um, and then obviously just the normal eat food with the team and head home and usually lie down straight away.
There was lots of your teammates from Bath at Ashton Gate, weren't there? From Bath Uni.
Yeah, there was loads of them. I didn't realize how many of them were coming, but yeah, they managed to all find each other by the end and saw them all in one of the stands, which was really cool. They support me at most Bears games as well, which is cool because I coach with the team, so it's nice for them to be like, oh, this is like a role model in a way that's also the same age as us. So I guess it's nice to see them there and to see them all just buzzing to be at the occasion and to know someone on the pitch.
And next one is, what is your guilty pleasure?
I don't really know. I mean, probably like watching Gogglebox every so often. I don't really watch much TV. Most people know that about me. I'm always busy doing something, but like the odd occasion when I do sit down, I'm like, oh, Gogglebox. I feel like it's a way that I can catch up on every series that's on at the moment because everyone's talking about stuff, and I'm like, oh, I never watch anything, but yeah, probably Gogglebox. That's a go-to if I'm ever sat down still at one point.
It does make a lot of sense actually to watch them all in one go.
Yeah.
And just final one, what teammate would you not like to be stuck in a lift with?
That's a funny question. Maybe like Lucy Burgess from Bears, because we all joke about how she's like ratty and screamy, and she'd probably just stop panicking, and I'd be like, Burge, calm down. So yeah, maybe Burge, but funny question. I don't really know.
Is there anyone you'd back to kind of keep you calm in that situation?
Probably Rido, Amber Reid. She's my kind of like go-to woman for most support, or like before a match, like seeing Rido next to me, I feel like I know she's got my back and she's gonna pick me up from anything, or kind of be there for you no matter what happens. So probably Rido. Yeah, she's just a incredible human that I think most people would spend all the time in the world with her, because she's a great one.
Moving on now to the England under-20s, and LJ Lewis's side will be looking to bounce back from defeat over in France, 72-0, a record defeat for any English side against Wales this weekend. We're really excited to see this one. The England under-20s have just named their team. It's a really exciting side as well, so we're looking forward to seeing them out there at the weekend. But no news on the Wales under-20 side. We've not even heard of squad announcements, so we're really excited to see what potential they could name, because we know there are some players coming through who we are really excited to see. We've seen them in the Celtic Challenge, we've seen them playing a little bit for Cardiff Met, we've seen them at the under-18s. So it's going to be really exciting to see what kind of side they put out and to see what the talent is on the pitch out there in Bristol. Before we head into that, we are speaking now to Exeter Chiefs and England under-20s prop Hannah Sams. She's not involved this weekend, but we'll be talking to Hannah about all things England under-20s, her time in camp and her journey to kind of this level so far. So, Hannah, first of all, just thank you for taking the time today to chat to us. Just how are you and how's camp been?
Yeah, it's good. The energy's really good, like building into Wales week. Obviously, had a tough week against France, but I think we are definitely in a better place for this Wales game, and everyone's really excited to get going.
Just to quickly touch on that France game before we get into more other things, just how difficult of an occasion was that, and kind of how has the team kind of managed that and kind of got back mentally from that game?
I think obviously going to France, having all the crowds, the bands and everything was definitely a bit of an intimidating environment to go into, because, well, for me, I've never played France away. So it was definitely intimidating, but you kind of just have to embrace it and embrace like the French fans. But it was definitely hard to not get your head down because of the score. But I think we definitely showed up, and like physicality wise, it was intense, but I think we dealt with it quite well.
Just going to yourself, first of all, just can you kind of talk us through your rugby career today and kind of how you've got to this point?
Yeah, so I started at like junior rugby at Kingsbridge and Ivybridge, and then I joined Exeter C, and then I was playing at the C, and I got called into the under-18s squad, and then I've been with them for 2 years, and then I I got called into Chiefs, got a contract with them, and I've been playing with them this year, and then this is my first year in under-20s.
Obviously, you just mentioned Chiefs, and just how are you finding your first season so far?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Like even though I'm very young, everyone's embraced me, helped me learn, let me pick their brain, and just help me develop as much as I can.
And how good is it to work under Susie, kind of such a legend in terms of coaching game and women's rugby?
Yeah, she is very helpful. Like, she knows her stuff, she knows what she wants out of you, and yeah, it's just a great environment to be in.
And obviously a few standout moments from your first season at Chiefs, obviously try and debut in the Allianz Cup, your PBR debut and your first start this weekend. Just how enjoyable has it been and kind of how you found those big moments?
Yeah, it's been very enjoyable there. Everyone celebrates it, like everyone is saying well done, congratulations. Like, no one, everyone, yeah, everyone just like congratulates those little things, and it's really like nice because you feel involved in the squad and everything.
I'm getting a starting shirt this past weekend gone. Just how kind of special of a moment is that? So you're making your first start as well.
Yeah, it's very special, especially because I've grown up supporting Chiefs, and like Chiefs has been my role models, like everyone in there. And just to be able to say, like, I got that starting shirt just helps, like, almost show people from Devon that like it is possible to go through all the pathways and come out and get the most out of it.
Just to touch on the CV that you mentioned before, just how important has that kind of development pathway been for you, kind of heading into more senior rugby?
Yeah, I think because it's coached by like some of the Chiefs players, like they coach you and make you understand like the importance of not necessarily like all the on-field stuff, especially like the off-field stuff, like your gym, your nutrition, like reviewing sessions. Like, it was definitely kind of opened my eyes to like how important all those things are, and like how by doing them it makes you improve on pitch as well.
Obviously, you're one of a fair few of this England under 20 squad who've kind of made that step up from under 18s last season. Just how are you kind of finding the adjustment and how well have the coaching staff made that adjustment easy?
It has been a big step up, but also coming up with quite a few of my friends from 18s has been like quite, it's made it the transition a bit easier. And as well, like I played first year 18s with some of these 20s girls that were here before me, so knowing everyone has kind of made the transition easier. And everyone expects stuff of you, but that it's okay to make mistakes.
And there's a fair few of that kind of last year's 18s who've made that big step up into PBR, obviously playing a lot like likes of Millie, Ella Cromack, Amelia McDougall. Just how special is it to see these players making that big step up?
Yeah, it's very special because I think it shows that we are capable, and the talent coming up and through is like outstanding, and just it shows everyone that we are all capable of it.
And just how much of a drive is it for you? You kind of touch on it then, but just how much of a drive is it for you going, I can do this. I've seen these players do this, and now I want to go on and do this as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you want to make a name for yourself out there, and having them do it almost pushes you that just a bit more.
Mhm. And just to go back to kind of that first game for the 20s against the Army, just how special of a moment was for you that kind of running out and making your under 20s debut?
Yeah, it was a very good game to make the debut on. Like, the momentum we had, and we were all playing, like, it was our first time playing as a team, but we played so well together, and we all kind of just bounced off each other, and obviously the result showed that.
Mhm. And just how much are you kind of learning from these under 20s camps, and just how important are they and the Allianz Cup kind of for your development and players your age development heading forward?
Yeah, definitely. You're always learning. Like, from the Army game we learned, from France game we've learned, and like in the Chiefs setup, like reviewing each team before we play them, like, how they're going to be, and then you can adjust yourself to that. So it definitely helps, and you developing all the time.
And just the coaching staff with the under 20s, obviously LJ, kind of another one of those big names in the women's rugby coaching, Sarah McKenna, who's still playing. Just how important is it to have players who kind of know so much about the game heading into the camp and then kind of progressing on to teaching it to you as a team?
Yeah, definitely. Like, having LJ and her background, like, she's always passing on knowledge, and she enables you to like pick her brain about it, and you can just learn so much.
Kind of, what is your driving force as a rugby player? Obviously, 10 years ago, the players who are now playing for the Red Roses haven't had this pathway. But what is kind of your driving force heading forward?
Just to kind of show everyone that it's possible. Like, I've got two little sisters and I want to make that pathway for them. I want to show them that it is possible, and all the young girls from home.
So what kind of age did you start playing growing up?
I started playing with the boys when I was 8 years old.
So did you kind of have any understanding of what was going on in the women's game at that time? So would that have been about 10 years ago? So kind of pre the Red Roses winning that World Cup in 2014. So did you have kind of any understanding of what was going on in the women's game at that time?
No, I had no idea about like women's rugby, that you could be a professional rugby player. And obviously that's come on leaps and bounds ever since. And yeah, I only really knew about men's rugby.
When did you first kind of know about women's rugby? Kind of who was your first kind of going, I want to be them, or was that kind of come quite recently?
It's definitely come more recently, like coming through like secondary school and like getting into CV. And then when like Chiefs became a women's like established team, because they never had one when I was growing up. It was always like Bristol Bears. So when they became established, it definitely kind of opened my eyes to it, and like started to go watch the Red Roses when I was younger. Like, it definitely opens your eyes to it all.
And if you've seen the Red Roses play at Twickenham, obviously huge crowds, is that kind of an inspiration to someone like yourself, and also for the rest of the team going, this could be us in 3-4 years' time?
Yeah, definitely. Like, going to the games and seeing how many people idolize them and seeing how many people turn up and just love the game, it is really inspiring.
And kind of touch on this, just what's next for you this year, and kind of what constitutes a successful 2024 for yourself?
Definitely trying to push to make the squad for the Six Nations going out to Italy, and also just trying to get my like name on the back of the Chiefs shirt as much as I can.
And what about looking a little bit further forward, say 5 years' time?
I definitely want to be pushing on to senior Red Roses. Like, that is the ultimate goal, but whatever gets me there.
Perfect. So Hannah, thank you so much for chatting to us today, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
And as always, we end on the news. And it's a bit of a lighter kind of news segment this week. Results-wise, from Pack 4, Canada beat the USA 50 points to 7 over in the USA. The first game of Pack 4 before it officially kind of kicks underway over in New Zealand in a few weeks' time. A massive win for Canada. The first time the USA played at home in a number of years as well. So it's great to see kind of teams having such good home crowds over the weekend. Obviously, there were record crowds across all 3 Six Nations games over the weekend as well. So that's great to see. We've had a few more confirmed internationals as well. Obviously, we've known about the Red Roses playing France and New Zealand over in the autumn, but we now know the dates and the venues. The Red Roses will play France at Kingsholm in Gloucester on the 7th of September, before facing New Zealand at Twickenham on the 14th. Also on the 14th, as we mentioned earlier, Ireland will be facing the Wallaroos of Australia over in Belfast. We also know now that Wales will have to face Spain in a WXV qualifier in Wales at some point before WXV. We don't know when, we don't know where, but hopefully we'll be having more information about that soon. And heading into this weekend, there's an international game. Is South Africa face Cameroon in the Rugby Africa Cup. Obviously, South Africa will be hoping to win that quite comprehensively, but it'd be nice to see some competitiveness from Cameroon, and to see the outcome of that one. Obviously, we've got the Wales under-20s against England under-20s game as well. So plenty of international rugby to feast on this weekend when there's no domestic rugby. But speaking of domestic rugby, the news from the kind of domestic game around the world this weekend, the Waratahs won Super W with a 50 points to 14 victory over the Fijiana Drua. Massive win for the Waratahs, really impressive performances out there. A fair few of their squad have been named in Joe Yatt's Wallaroos squad as well, so being excited to see how they fare come Pack 4. And finally, for the news this week, it's been announced this week that the Celtic Challenge will be extended for next season into kind of a more of a full season, 10-game tournament, home and away. So it's going to be great to see how these teams kind of push on and build on this, and see how that affects their national sides. Obviously, 2 sides in Wales, 2 sides in Scotland, and 2 sides in Ireland as well. That's it for the Women's Rugby Show Weekly this week. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to check us out across all social medias, and also check out our partners, Moonrise Sports.